Long as you're happy, you're always gonna grin. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. Never gonna lose, never gonna win. Long as you're happy, you're always gonna grin. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. There we go. We are live. Hello, Daniel. How are you today?
I am great, Ashley. How are you?
I'm happy to see you, mate. It's lovely to see you. Thank you very much for coming. Don't look so worried. I'm not going to grill you. And I know why you're looking so worried. Tell us why you're looking so worried.
I'm smiling as I say it, but unfortunately, my daughter, who's 2 years old, isn't feeling great. And so she had to be picked up early from nursery, high fever, runny nose, and that 2-year age where they can't quite communicate what they want at any given time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've all been there. So my sympathies. Luckily you can't hear it, but right outside, literally right outside, they are putting a new road surface on. Okay, so there's diggers and all kinds of things going on out there. So we just battle on. That's the joys of of running a business, isn't it? So indeed. Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm happy to do so. I think we've established already that I'm a parent. I'm a father of 2 wonderful kids. And I think it's nice to start with that, actually, because usually on LinkedIn and these kinds of conversations, people go straight to the business. I'm this, that, or the other with their title. But I'll start with I'm a father of 2. Have a lovely wife who I'm incredibly grateful for making both parenting and working possible. And I guess on the work side, I originally was a management consultant. I spent about 7-8 years making nice PowerPoint presentations and Excel models that very few people ever looked at. And then actually transitioned from the 20,000 foot world of consulting into the startup space. I lead with a couple of other guys, a fintech in the space of payment, business management, really sort of looking at sole traders and the self-employed.
Fantastic. So, right, what is this bit of fintech? Because I just love your app. I think it's absolutely incredible.
Thank you, Ashley.
And I know we don't have time for a presentation or a demo or anything like that today. But come on, tell us a little bit about your lovely software.
With pleasure. So I think the starting point is really actually the 3 founders of Osu ourselves at various points in our careers did freelancing. One as a developer, myself as sort of a consultant, and our third partner as an accountant, actually. And what we found sort of independently is that, as passionate as you may be about your craft or as determined as you may be to succeed in business, once you become a sort of solopreneur or entrepreneur or freelancer or sole trader, a lot of your time is actually the other stuff, whether that, trying to find clients, find customers, deal with invoicing, chase payments. It's awkward. Someone you might sort of have a great relationship with, and now you're sending them an email urging them to kind of pay, etc., etc. And it's hassle. And we independently, each of us I think I lasted about 6 months before I said, I just can't do this. It's just too much hassle and admin. So Osu was sort of the genesis of each of us having that experience and saying there has to be a better and easier way for someone who's self-employed or freelancing or a sole trader or just getting started to run their business. So built Osu. It's a mobile app aimed specifically, if you will, for the one-person bands. And it makes it easy for them just to sort of run their business in one place, in one app. It automates things around invoicing. It automates things around scheduling and booking. It makes it very easy to communicate with your clients, keep in touch with them. And best of all, it's a way to actually get paid by them. And when you get paid using the app, there's 0 transaction fees and you receive the money instantly. The reason that's important is because if you are getting paid via some kind of card reader or you're using a traditional payment app, you're probably paying 1.5% to 2% in fees. So every time you charge your client, you're obviously not getting the full amount back. Someone's taking a little cut along the way. And sometimes you might wait 3-4 days, even a week, until that money hits your account. And with the app we built, yes, you can manage your business in one place. But I think the icing on the cake is that when you want to get paid, it takes you just a few seconds using the app. Your client doesn't need the app. They can just pay in a few clicks from their phone, and the full amount of money within a few seconds is already in your bank account.
Yeah, it's incredible when you explain it. It's even more incredible when you experience it, because so your average solopreneur is sending direct debits or stuff like that, so they're paying subscriptions to
Correct.
Stripe or something like that, or they've got one of those really cool card machines, but they pay quite a bit for that, don't they? I'm lucky, I don't do many transactions, and everybody just pays through backs for me. But if I for example, I go and have my hair cut, and it's £13, and I put my card on the barber's card machine, how much of that 13 quid does he actually get?
So interestingly, because there's, that would be considered a micro transaction. So obviously the card companies, they want to charge their 2%, and they obviously want that 2% to be on a very large number. So what they'll do when it's under a certain threshold is they will have some sort of a minimum in some cases. So it may even be a fixed minimum of, 50 pence or a pound, which doesn't sound like much. Even on £13, say 50 pence is paid in a fee. But it's when you add up all those 50 pences, every sort of hour, day, week, month, year, you can easily find, and we often find, businesses already spending thousands of pounds in these transaction fees. And if you're a one-person band, a few £1,000s is, one if not two lovely holidays with your family, or a few city breaks with your spouse. And the other thing, of course, is the pure, if you say, economics or financial side of it, which is this is a cost, and anything you save on cost goes straight to the profit line. So anything you can cut in terms of these fees, it just should be and could be a no-brainer.
Yeah, no, and that's I think that's key. Now, the other thing that correct me if I'm wrong, but if I wasn't doing many card transactions, and so I came below the threshold in my business, I could use your app as a sole trader for absolutely nothing. That's correct, isn't it?
Correct. That's
right.
a great point, because I guess I should have clarified that the way, obviously, if we're not charging transaction fees, and yet we're a business, we must have some way of making money. And the way we make money is we have subscription plans. And what we do is we have 3 plans based on the volume. So if you are only accepting up to £1,000 a month using the app, there's no cost at all. And so think of someone just getting started or taking their first steps into launching their own thing, or even think of someone with full-time employment. And this is really a growing trend, especially I think in the past few years, people who have a side hustle or a passion project where they want to have some supplementary income, or the uncertainty in the job market means they want to have something on the go, on the side, sort of there in case. And so up to £1,000, they can run the entire thing, taking the payments instantly for free using the app. And then once you go above that £1,000 threshold, it essentially becomes £10 a month or £20 a month. And the sort of borderline is once you hit 6.5 grand worth of payment that you're collecting each month, it goes from £10 a month to £20 a month, which is actually a very low fixed subscription. There's a lot of certainty, which again is another challenge everyone talks about in being self-employed, which is when you are accepting card payments, because it's percentage based and because there's all sorts of other fees and charges that can crop up. Every month it's different, so you're never quite sure how much you're going to pay any given month. It's sort of a number that you see, and you kind of just can't bring it upon yourself even sometimes to open up the invoice to understand why this month you paid £132.47, whereas last month it was £89.26. And you just kind of live with it. And I think cards are a fantastic way of getting paid. They were invented 70 or so years ago. They're wonderfully convenient for consumers, but I do think that sort of as people move into the world of self-employment, people's eyes, if you will, are opening up more and more to, wow, it was convenient for me as a consumer, but now I'm the one paying those fees, and they really are taking up a chunk of my income. Maybe there's got to be a better way or a fairer way to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. And so £6,000 a month, 6.5 grand a month, that's like £72,000 turnover.
Correct.
So basically most small businesses are only going to pay you 10 quid a month.
Correct.
And what you've just said about your 50p's, that is a no-brainer, full stop, right? That is totally a no-brainer. But the other thing is that just blows my mind is that you've developed a portal so that bookkeepers and accountants can have access to their clients' app, so that they can do their bookkeeping, and they're not going to need Xero or QuickBooks. Is that correct?
That's also true. And I think what's important about that is to clarify that we never embarked upon this journey with a vision of entering the accounting space. There wasn't an objective of ours. It wasn't even on our radar. We were and are and remain 100% dedicated to helping sole traders thrive, allowing small businesses and micro businesses to really succeed. And so we added all these features beyond payments around scheduling and booking, marking, automated invoicing, marking items that were paid outside of the app. You can still mark them within the app as having been paid, allowing you to kind of keep a holistic view of your income. We added an expense tracking receipt scanning tool within the app. So, you have a receipt, just quickly take a photo, it scans the receipt, populates all the data. And what we found was our users started to approach us and say, listen, this is amazing. Like, I have everything I need here. All my data's here. My entire business is here. But it's coming up to the end of year self-assessment deadline. How can I, share this data with my accountant or my bookkeeper? And that prompted for us the understanding and realization that, wow, we are giving sort of the sole trader community, the micro business community, an app that they're genuinely using. They are using it to the point that they generate all the data that their accountant needs. How can we expose that data and share that data with accountants? So we built an accounting portal, if you will, that accountants have access to, or bookkeepers. They can log in, and then once their client connects to them, they can then see all their clients' income and expense data. They can also, and this is a relatively new addition, their client can actually connect their bank account. And then as an accountant, you'll be able to see the income, the expenses, and all the bank feed movements. And as an accountant, you now have, I'm not going to say the 100% view of your sole trader client businesses, but even if it's the 80% view, the 90% view, it's all there. And what you can do there is, of course, edit, review, manage, or you can always export it to a CSV file and then upload it to Xero, QuickBooks, Free Agent, whichever full-blown accounting system you're using. I think the key for us and the important part for us is we hear from accountants and we hear from the app users all the time that they just don't use the Xero app or the QuickBooks app or the Free Agent app. And when we ask them why, they say the same thing. It's too complicated, or it's overwhelming, or it's confusing. Or we even had one person from the trade say to us, because it's not my job, my accountant should be doing this, which is funny when you think about it, but it makes sense because at the end of the day, those tools understandably are brilliant, and they're built for both SMBs, if you will, and individuals. The problem being is usually in an SMB, whether it's 5 people, 50 people, 500 people, there will be someone who has the role of accounts or bookkeeper or finance person, and that person will be familiar with Xero or QuickBooks or Sage or whichever. So there will always be someone in the organization when it's an SMB who can log in and will have that sort of breath of relief of, hello Xero, my old friend, and they know what to do. But usually a plumber or a driving instructor or a personal trainer, a yoga teacher, it doesn't matter. When they log into these apps, having not come from a finance or business background necessarily, it's just confusing. And of course, they have features that are designed both for a one-person band, but of course they have present the features that are designed for the SMB. And so as a sole trader, you log in and you say, I don't know what I'm doing with this. It's confusing, it's complicated. It looks like I have to do this once a week, regrettably on, say, a Sunday evening, or even once a month, or perhaps never at all. And inadvertently, and again, not by design, we found, because they actually love the OSU app, it's so simple, intuitive, its interface and its feel is designed to just, this is an easy way to run my business and get paid for my work. In the background, all this data is being generated, and therefore it can be shared. So for accountants and bookkeepers who have sole trader clients who they find, I wouldn't say difficult, but who have to struggle with them of getting them to use technology, or for those who would love to serve this segment of sole traders but are holding back on that because they're aware there's a challenge around, how do I get the data? I have to spend hours getting the data. I have to spend, entire month of January just chasing these people. The OSU app solves that very sort of sizable challenge, because it's sizable in that they're just sheer number of sole traders in the UK and self-employed individuals. Albeit it's not necessarily sizable in the sense that, a large SMB client, of course, may be worth more in terms of revenue to an accountant. But a sole trader client, if you have them using the OSU app and you shrink the amount of time you have to spend on them, can actually become an excellent client, because, they have the app, they're busy running their business, and you log into the portal and all the data you need is there, or if not 80% of it's there, you only need to chase for the remaining 20%. And the best thing that can happen is when someone starts their own business, they start using the OSU app, streaming all the data to their accountant, and the person graduates from the OSU app. They are successful. They choose of their own accord they want to be a bigger business than a one-person band. And some people, by the way, love being a one-person band. That's fantastic for them, and may they be OSU users forever. But those that graduate, if you will, and say, I want to have a team now, I want to have staff, I want to have more employees, then that's also fantastic. They'll probably move on to something like Xero or QuickBooks. They'll hire a finance person to deal with that. And for the accountant, that's also fantastic, because that sole trader client has also grown with you. And I would imagine the value of that client has grown with you. And where we see ourselves as being a fantastic starting point for the one-person band, a wonderful tool for accountants to take advantage of when serving those clients.
Yeah, amazing. It really is an incredible app. I'm just thinking out loud. I was thinking in my head, but I'm going to think out loud now. I think maybe we should do an extra special show where you come on and we actually show what the app does. What we'll do is when we finish, we'll have a little chat about that, and maybe we can bring on a couple of people that are already using it and just see what they do. There was a question there from Gillian, but I think you've answered that, so that's cool. And I think you've answered the one from Michelle as well, but it doesn't integrate yet. It's a CSV import, and I've put the yet in there. Is that true, or do you want Ashley to shut up and it's not going to integrate?
So it's something that, depending on demand. So if we find that there's a flurry of demand that there has to be a Xero one-to-one integration, then it's absolutely something we can and will do. For the moment, it seems that people are quite happy working with the data within the portal we provide and then exporting and uploading. But again, everything's on the table. And if after this conversation, 1,000 accountants bombard me with emails saying I will use this for every single one of my sole trader clients, but I need the Xero integration tomorrow, then of course that's a wonderful business case for me to take back to the developers and say, guys, put everything else to the side. This is now our new priority.
Well, the thing is, right, is you've developed this app because you came from it, and this is what I love about inventors, is you came from it as a point of view is, how do I sort my money out, how do I get paid, and all that sort of malarkey. And so now you've built something that is absolutely useful for your solopreneurs, like my barber friend, etc. And none of them are wanting to use Xero or what have you. They've all got one of these things, right? They've all got one of these, They use it all the time for everything else. They're now using it to do all their payments. They're absolutely loving it. And then as a byproduct, you sort of like think, hang on a minute, we've got all this data, let's show it to accountants. And so rather than, spending all your time with sole traders, you're now able to help accountants and bookkeepers. And that brings me nicely onto my next question. What sort of challenges are you finding that accountants and bookkeepers are having?
It's a great question. I think on this, it's twofold. So I think it's one, the challenge around, sole trader clients who are perhaps hesitant around traditional accounting and bookkeeping apps. And what that means for accountants and bookkeepers is the cost of serving these individuals is just very high. Why? Because you spend hours on the data, if you will, sort of, I wouldn't call it even data analysis, it's even just data collection, right? Just getting the stuff can take hours out of your year. Then the actual sort of, sifting through the data, organizing it, preparing everything before you even file it, before you even provide any recommendations on the basis of it, is at a point where were you to charge that client for the time you've spent on it, they wouldn't pay. And what you can charge obviously doesn't, reflect the hours you've spent. I think that's one challenge we hear of. So it's a challenge that the clients don't have an app that they feel they can use confidently. And as a result, for accountants and bookkeepers, these clients become either, if you will, unprofitable or just difficult. I think that's one thing. And the second thing, I think the big challenge is just the making tax digital on the horizon, which I think a lot of people, are worried about. And what's interesting, and I really empathize, it's not accountants and bookkeepers who will be caught unprepared for MTD. Of course, they're well aware of it. In many cases, they're already prepared for it. It's actually clients. And it's also not the enterprise clients. I would say it's not even the larger SMB clients, because again, they don't want to be caught, if you will, with their trousers down and, oh dear, what do I do? How do I handle this? So they'll be ready. And again, accountants and bookkeepers will be ready. I think the challenge and thing that people are rightly hesitant and maybe somewhat afraid of, and it's a big challenge, is getting the smaller clients truly on board and ready for this. And the reason for that is no one likes change, and change is hard. And everyone sort of said, oh, 2024, I've got time, I'll deal with that later. And inevitably, the challenge of getting people to sort of say you need to get in the practice as early as possible, so that by the time it comes around, it's already intuitive for you. It's a normal course of business for you. That's a real challenge. And I think, whose job is it? I don't think HMRC are going to necessarily spend millions on advertising and education to the market about how to do it and what to do. And that sort of falls in the cracks, or it falls in the hands of accountants and bookkeepers, who, are professionals at accounting and bookkeeping. They're not necessarily professionals in mass market education, which is obviously a completely different challenge. And I think as wonderful as MTD is, announcing it, telling everyone it's coming into place and here's the protocols, I think a big challenge for accountants and bookkeepers and everyone really is getting ready in time and making sure people truly understand what it is, what they need to do, what tools there are, and so on and so forth. And I think that's an understandable challenge that we've heard come up quite a bit.
Yeah, no, and I think Helen has summed it up there. Sole traders are going to be a large part of her client base, so it's a great starting option, because QuickBooks is just going to be too scary. You've set up your new business, I don't know, making plastic clips, for example, and now you've got to do all this funny stuff on a bit of software you didn't even know about. So yeah, no, great. I've got a question here from Gillian. We're almost out of time, guys. So if anyone's got any other questions for the lovely Daniel, please shout. But I think we need to do a proper what is OSO and actually explore it. So that'll definitely come. Does it deal with CIS, which is the construction industry scheme?
So unfortunately not. It's something that we have in our roadmap, if you will. But it's also something that I confess, like as a team, we are not accountants. So whenever we build something new, and this would be something new, so it would be like an extension to the current product, we actually try to work with accountants to build something that actually meets their needs. and meets their requirements. So I can say that while we don't have it yet,
If
Gillian, we'd
Helen,
love to work with you.
if Gillian gets in touch, she can actually help you. Look at that. How's that?
What we when we get started on that, we'd love to work with you and have you as, say, a design partner. And I think some people get very excited about this, and some people don't. But if you are excited about this kind of thing, it's a chance to kind of see your own fingerprints on a product that's in the market and other people use it. A year from now, someone might say, "Oh, I used Osu. It's brilliant for my clients in the construction industry," and you'll be able to smile and kind of say, I actually helped them build that.
That's super duper, super duper. So Helen wants to know, how can we find out more about the app? So Helen, if you go into if you look at this post in a second, Daniel is going to put in all the links and what have you. You can connect with him. You're happy for people to connect with you on LinkedIn. So please connect with Daniel. And we've got another question coming in here. Will the app work for US clients? Oh, look at that. We've got a US member looking at us now. So is that a yes or a no?
So it's an in-between, actually. So
okay.
The instant payments that are free with 0 transaction fees, those are for pound payments only. So it would only work for UK-based clients. But we do have hidden within the app the option for those that really, really want to accept card payments to do so. And then what they can do is they can go into the app settings, enable the card payment option, and then they would be, if you had a client in the US, they would be able to use the app and accept payments, although they be via card, which is back into the world of paying fees and waiting a few days for your money. The reason we have it is just because every sole trader we have using the app at some point says, I just have this one client, someone, maybe a bit older or less, tech savvy, who always insists on paying by card. And for that reason, we say, okay, you can always, if you need to, just that one time, unlock it from the app setting, let them pay by a card, and then quickly turn it off again. But so technically it's possible. But I would say that we have been genuinely and honestly very much focused on the UK.
And that's fair enough. And we've got, because we've got open banking here, it makes it absolutely brilliant. And because of open banking, I don't understand why people are still, using companies like Stripe and all the others. Gillian wants to meet you for a cup of tea because she's got over 200 subcontractors. So that's absolutely fantastic. This show's called 15 Minutes for Accountants and Bookkeepers. I think we've overrun a little bit, Daniel. Thank you so much for coming. I've got one more question. I've got one more question for you. But before we do that, I just want to introduce my guest for next week. I'm just going to get rid of that banner and get rid of that comment. So next week, I have got the lovely Olivia James coming in. So she is a performance specialist. Okay, so she does some coaching for accountants and bookkeepers. So I'm looking forward to having a chat with her next week. So my last question to you, sir, is when you were at primary school, what is it you fancied doing when you left school?
So primary school was like many English men was to be a football player.
Okay.
But I think the regret I have isn't actually not being a football player. I think closer to while I was in the first couple of years of university, I always had the sort of niggling sensation of what would it be like to be an academic, which I never pursued. But to go down the path of further studies, a PhD, and becoming like an academic in sort of a big university, and just teach and learn for the sake of teaching and learning. I'm always slightly envious of people who did do that. And I guess that's what I would say. Oh, if I could have been something else, it would have been an
interesting stuff. But you're learning and teaching all this stuff all the time anyway. So and changing people's lives, because I really, really love what you do. Daniel, thank you so much for coming today. And I'm just going to need to just take that thing off there that I put on the bottom. Where did I put it? Because we can't see your name. There we go. I can see your name now. So Daniel, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody for all your wonderful questions. Please connect with Daniel, and I will be back next week with Olivia, but Daniel and I will be back again, and maybe some of your team, and we'll explore the OSO app in much greater detail. But we'll put that in place. Daniel, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.